Harrison Price for Monday, October 27th, 2025. We're a presentation of Bet365 coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealers Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer. Today, Matt Sakaris with Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches, conducting things alongside intern Hayden Stewart. We have a big show planned for you after a gigantic weekend in sports. What can you say?
Huge, and it's not slowing down. I keep getting texts from all my friends just going, can you believe what we watch on a daily? I think baseball is really to blame here. Never mind the fact that the Whitecaps and Lions are on great form right now. But when you add baseball to the mix, which is an every night affair or near to that, it's a lot. It's a lot. We're very busy people right now. And, it's not even under the guise. Matt, this is work for us. We have to watch this much sports. Are
you warming up for her tonight? Is this what are you testing out your material?
No. I'm
you had told me earlier in the month the family's like, oh my God, we never see Dad. Dad's always watching the sports. Well, that's what Dad does.
I wouldn't call us heroes,
pays the bills,
but somebody's got to watch all these sports.
Yeah. And I'll be watching World Series Game 3 tonight at Nat Bailey Stadium with our friends at the Vancouver Canadians. Every year they have an event for season ticket members to come to the Nat and watch one of the World Series games. Never before with the Blue Jays, though, so looking forward to that. Okay, obviously our bread and butter is the Vancouver Canucks, and what a weekend for the Canucks. Just absolutely overflowing with storylines here. We will get to many of them over the course of this program, and as the week goes on, we'll start with the Redwoods Golf Course poll question. Biggest Canucks story this weekend, the Quinn Hughes injury, Elias Pettersson's back, or Kiefer Sherwood. You can vote at the Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. We will get into dissecting these two games, the loss to Montreal, the win against Edmonton, in a moment. But answer me the poll. Who was your big storyline?
Because we don't know the severity of Quinn Hughes yet, I'm going to say that it's Elias Pettersson. The amount of money devoted to this one player over the next half dozen more years means that he needs to be a top player. And it had been slow to come. People wanted to convince themselves of this, that, and the other thing. But there was a bigger statement made on the weekend, most notably on Saturday, but to a degree yesterday as well. And it's getting closer. 8 points in 10 games. Still not what you need out of Elias Pettersson. You want a point per game. That's what he's being paid for. But it's darn close. And could I see him at 20 points in 20 games? Yep. I'm available to be convinced of that.
Okay, so let's look at PD's weekend then. Adam Kirzenblad of the Hockey News here with the stat. 2 goals, 2 assists, 6 shots on goal. That's an important number, folks, because he had mentioned earlier in the season his goal is to get 3 shots on goal per game, so check mark there as well. He's on the ice for 4 goals, 0 against, averaging 21 minutes. And boy, the storyline from Pittsburgh has gone away pretty quickly there, huh?
Yeah, after one 20-minute contest or 2 20-minute contests in his first 7,
yep,
the last 3 now have all been over 20.
Well, we talked about this last week and wondered what possessed Adam Foote to do it. Adam Foote came out and gave a very detailed explanation as to why Pettersson wasn't playing all that much. But it does seem like someone got to him on that, Blake, because Pettersson he's played the bejesus out of Pettersson since. I think the other thing that might have come up as they got to the 8 and now 10 game mark in the self-scout And look, we asked this of some guests last week who were a little hesitant to go down the road because it comes with some suggestions. But, Blake, they were kind of a little bit Willie Desjardins, let's just roll 4 lines. And you wonder if that's just a pretty green NHL coaching staff and rookie NHL head coach that just needed to make life easy for himself in the early going here in terms of forward deployment. PD blocked 6 shots on the weekend. He leads NHL forwards with 22 blocks on the season, and he was hard matched against guys like Connor McDavid and Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. And Adam Foote was talking about that post-game last night. Here's the head coach about what he likes from Elias in a shutdown role.
I think he's thriving on it. I think he enjoys it. We had a discussion this year how he told me he wanted to be a very good defensive forward as well. And I think he's just enjoying it. I think he enjoys the matchup. It gets his juices going. He gets into the game quicker. He knows he's dependent on it. And I like the way, he's got, 8 or 9 points or close. He might have more, but he's defending. I always said, you look at Daxud, Zetterberg, even Sakic, like those guys defended and could defend. Now you wonder how many points they could have had if they were on the far blue, like some forwards we know do. And Petey's defending, and I love that about him.
Alain Vigneault and John Tortorella used to say that a little bit about the Twins as well, that when you hard match them, you get their attention early in a game so that even if the offense isn't coming, they're engaged from the get-go. It's a useful, I think, psychological coaching tactic for your best players as well.
That's the case for PK, too. It's engagement. It's getting into the flow of things as well. More ice time is not a bad thing necessarily, right?
Sure. The difference being, of course, sometimes you don't have a penalty kill early in the game, whereas when you're hard matching at even strength, of course, you are. And it's funny because I don't think we actually fired the poll question, but there was one on my rough sheet. One poll question in our ideas silo early in the season or just before the season was going to be something along the lines of if you could wish great health for any Canuck this year, or who could they least afford to lose. The funny part is because of the depth of this defense group, you can almost argue, Blake, that they are more equipped to deal with a Quinn Hughes injury than they are at a center iceman's injury. And needless to say, we saw that last week when you're playing without Filipino and Teddy Bluger.
It seems sacrilege to say.
I know.
But I agree. Yeah.
You've got cover on defense. You think you have cover in goal. You thought you had cover in goal. You may still have cover in goal with Lankinen. You don't have a lot of cover at center ice.
No.
So in some ways, you can argue Elias is the most important player in that regard. Look, I've fixated on the this weekend part of the poll question and voted for Kiefer Sherwood. Going forward, it will clearly be one of the other two stories here. Either the Hughes injury, which even with their cover could sink them, derail them, get them behind the 8 ball here early. We'll see how long he misses. And, of course, Elias Pettersson, him getting all the way back, which could be the antidote to a prolonged Quinn Hughes absence, or just something they need irrespective of Quinn Hughes or anybody else on the hockey team. Because here's the thing. He had 1 3-point game all of last year, folks. That was December 1st against the Detroit Red Wings. So it had been nearly 11 months since he had a 3-point game. The other thing about Elias, despite how poorly he played last year, he had multi-point games in bunches. It was just 12 multi-point games on the year, but he had 3 in the final 7 games that he played before having to shut it down with injury. He was coming on a little bit in March, and he had a stretch of 5 multi-point games in 7 contests in December. So when he was going last year, he was getting hot for a stretch of games. And I think you can only hope, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, that this continues tomorrow night against the New York Rangers here, and his old teammate, JT Miller. I was going to use another word, but
They were teammates.
yeah, they were certainly accurate. And, of course, as they head out on this itty-bitty, 3-game road trip starting in St. Louis on Thursday. Our friends at the Redwoods Golf Course specialize in hosting custom corporate events. If you've got a team building or networking event that you would like to hold, get in touch with the Redwoods. They've got custom packages that can include golf lessons if you're so inclined. They have the beautiful, big, heated, covered driving range, even a food and beverage component if you're so interested, and, of course, the private and semi-private lessons for children ages 6 to 16, flexible to your schedule. Set those children up for the sport of a lifetime. Get in touch, redwoods-golf.com. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. High event weekend. Canucks split with Canadian foes, lose defensemen, plural, to injury, but welcome back PD and continue to marvel at Kiefer Sherwood. In a phrase, everything was happening. 4-3, the overtime win over Edmonton last night after blowing 2-0 and 3-1 leads to give their division rivals a loser point, but they get back to 500 on the season after 10 games at 5-5. Besser and Petey score early. Sherwood takes it from there. He gets 2, including the overtime winner, after having one called back on review. And it was a good call on review. The Canucks were offside. Tyler Myers was offside, but I loved how that didn't daunt them, Blake. They just kept playing.
Both nights, honestly. I think they will regret that they didn't get any points out of Saturday. But, hey, they did fight. And really, I don't know that we have seen this team. They've had bad periods, for sure. But have we seen them sink emotionally? I don't know that I've seen that. There's been some fight here. And I think what they may have learned after 10 games with, not a lot of blood spilt at 5-5, you are alive and well for the season. I think you can sort of look and say the margin for error, the margin for mistakes is very thin for this team. And you hope that they realize it, that it's going to take a lot. And ultimately there's luck, but that's out of their control. What they can control is their effort, is their ability to stay on focused and on task. And if they do that, that 5-5 in 10 games can become a few sections of 6-4 through 10 games. And you string together a bunch of 6-4, 10-game swaths, and you are absolutely in a playoff berth.
Well,
and looking pretty good.
I don't think we can overstate how important that victory was last night, because otherwise it's 4 losses in a row. Right?
Yeah. And your ability to say, no, we're okay without Filipino is pretty flimsy.
Yeah. Let alone we're okay without Filipino and without Quinn Hughes,
right.
Victor Mancini and Teddy Bluger and Jonathan Lecker-Mackey and Derek Forbert, and the list goes on and on. Sherwood's second 2-goal game of the season. He leads the team with 6, scored the winner on a 3-forward shift in overtime, and in part because the Canucks were down defensemen. But
I kept watching that last man back. That last forward was like, how deep is that last forward going to get?
Here's yesterday's hero on the overtime heroics.
Yeah, I guess we went to the coaches. He did the pre-scout, and when I was told I got Roni, I was, you sure? But obviously it worked out. We practiced that stuff in training camp, the 3-on-3 stuff. So it was nice to apply it in a game, and obviously, every little detail matters. Last year we lost too many in overtime, so it's good that we're, making work of what we applied.
Yeah, and Adam Foote was talking about how Kiefer Sherwood is a key member of their forecheck, and it's not quite as consistent or as heavy a forecheck as the Rick Tocchet system we have started to learn, but it's a more subtle, maybe a more nuanced system than a clear, true, formulaic dump and chase, chip and chase. Canucks lost 14 games beyond regulation.
Yeah.
14, it's insane. So good on Sherwood for noting that as an area of improvement required. They win without captain Quinn Hughes, who does not play with an injury, perhaps waylaid by the grind of 7 games in 11 days. Officially, he's day-to-day. Sportsnet yesterday had the video of him skating on his own back and forth as though he was testing something out in the late stages against the Montreal Canadiens. Vancouver has now had 11 different defensemen on the roster. It is October 27th, y'all.
Crazy.
They have 11 different defensemen who have been on the roster this season, including Kirill Kudryavtsev, who was recalled. Will likely have to play tomorrow with Victor Mancini leaving that game in the second period. He, like Hughes, also day-to-day. Philip Roenick gave us a scare, staying down after a play in the corner, looked to be favoring a shoulder, and there's a history there. But he finished the game. We'll see if he's okay to go tomorrow. Just finished it on adrenaline. He logged 28 minutes and 19 seconds. Marcus Pettersson played 27-21. And DPD Jr., Elias Pettersson, with a career high in minutes, 20 minutes, 22 seconds. That was more than 3.5 minutes greater than his previous career high of 16:44. Foote and his staff had very much been a two-pair coaching staff this year.
Yeah.
Third pair was not getting the sort of minutes that you typically see a third pair and the quality of third pair that they have too. I was a little surprised at that. Foote said that was Drew O'Connor's best game of the year, and boy, did he need one. He also liked the line of newcomer Lucas Reichel with Brock Besser and Evander Kane, and the defensive job that they did against the Leon Draisaitl line, not to mention the hard matching of Elias Pettersson versus the Connor McDavid line. 4-3 loss to Montreal Saturday despite an early 2-0 lead, and that is something that we need to watch here. I mean, they've blown 2-goal leads in both these games. In fact, they blew 2 separate 2-goal leads against Edmonton. Elias with his first multi-point night of the season. We talked about that. Foote said after the fact, quote, he played a great hockey game. He was matched up against the top line, and he was feeling it. I thought he did a lot of great things. He was physical. He was everywhere, all over the ice, and I liked his game. He was also serenaded by Let's Go Petey chants yesterday after that plea from Kevin BX on Hockey Night in Canada for the market to get behind the player.
It's great. I think, there's a lot of him that is there. I am a little bit worried about his first step. And again, he was never a burner, but he was slippery. And I think what made him slippery in his early days, and I say that in his first 4 or 5 seasons in the NHL, he had a first step that if a defenseman came to close down on him just over the blue line, he was able to slip by them. When I'm saying first step, I literally mean the very first stride he takes to create a new separation from those defenders. Still don't quite see that. And you wonder if that's an injury related thing there. But he's going to have to use momentum in his favor because he's not fast. But if he can use momentum and carry the puck at full speed at defenders, I think he's going to be okay. His vision is there. Matt, I do believe his vision is back. He seems to be reading the game properly, and right down to the blocks, I think, shows that his timing is correct. I really do think it's now, and we've wondered about mind and heart before. I think mind and heart might be back. But for me, the last shoe to drop for Petey is the body and whether or not he can just physically perform now the way that he used to. We'll see. But hey, good progress, good signs, nevertheless, here early on.
Disappointing to lose a game when Elias Pettersson is playing so well, and when you have a 2-0 lead on Saturday.
Yeah.
And boy, were there a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans in the building, same as Edmonton Oilers fans.
Over in 5 minutes.
Night.
When you think about those 3 goals at the end of the period, it's just like blink of an eye. Boom.
Yeah. It was a tough night for Kevin Lankinen and Evander Kane, who takes a terrible penalty in the offensive zone, then on the ice for a couple of goals at even strength. In the third for Montreal, we will dig a little deeper on the Kevin Lankinen story as the week goes along. But, Blake, are we already at a point here where we're worried about the backup goaltender, can't trust him, and thus means Thatcher Demko may have to play a little bit more than originally intended?
See, it's a different kettle of fish than when you had Shelovs as the backup. An unproven night in, night out NHL player, even if you're not playing night in, night out as a number 2 goalie. They had to protect themselves. They weren't sure that Artur Shelovs could handle the NHL workload on a fairly regular basis, which is what is required of you, especially behind Demko, where you need to provide relief for Demko. They know that Kevin Lankinen can. He's proven it time and time again. They know that he can. It's in there. And I don't think they should, and I don't think they will take away starts from him just yet. It needs to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, and 4 games is not that. It needs to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is in trouble. And he just looks off. He doesn't look like he's in trouble. None of the goals are gross, but you want him to win the battle. And we often say that even when it's, a superstar shooter versus a superstar goalie, the goalie needs to win some of those battles. And it just doesn't seem like when it's all on him that he's winning many of the battles right now. The shooter's winning a lot of those battles. And he's got to get back to 50-50 at the very least in a lot of those ways.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to lose starts here in the near term?
I think he's on the precipice of it. I think if he has a stinker the next time out, I think you've got to ask yourself the question, okay, can we trust him? Can we afford to bleed points?
A stinker, sure. If he loses 4-2 another time out, I'm not sure I'm ready to go there.
Yeah.
If he loses 6-1, we can tell.
And I understand the long game, and you would have an opportunity, I think, to make it up if Lankinen regains his form. The other thing is Thatcher looks just so brilliant right now. Blake.
He does look good.
Like, to some degree, Alain Vigneault taught us this. The equation for the head coach is who gives me the best chance to win the game tonight.
Yeah.
And it's Demko by a mile right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no right now, but that day is a lot sooner than I think we all would have hoped going into the season. Because, and mentioned this last week, and I don't want to pick on Kevin Lankinen because I thought Kevin Lankinen last year, under difficult circumstances, accounted himself amazingly, both on the ice and off. We had mentioned it several times last year, just how much of a pro Kevin Lankinen is, how he just seemed like such a decent fellow that people rallied behind. He was, respectful and polite and honest. But when you're paying a backup goaltender $4.5 million on a 5-year deal, then you've got to be way better than what he has been. And look, I understand some of this is luck. I've heard Kevin Woodley talking about him and saying, okay, like he just hasn't made the saves that it's not like there are too many goals that have gone in here where you're expecting the save. Like he's not been horrible on that metric. It's just he hasn't saved the occasional one that you hope your goaltender saves, the high danger, the mid danger chances. He hasn't stopped any of those this year. So high standard, I get it, but we talked about this with Pettersson, $11.6 million. So is the case for a $4.5 million backup goaltender. If Kevin Lankinen and Thatcher Demko stay healthy this year, Kevin Lankinen will be right near the league lead in terms of cost per start So he's got to be able to hold up his end of the bargain. I'm going to have some Yellow Dog tonight at the stadium.
Oh, you're at the, yes.
Yeah.
They do have Yellow Dog there. It's true.
Yes, they do.
Lucky man. Yellow Dog has got a lot of seasonal offerings at this time of year. Their fresh hop series. But one that we always love year in and year out is Neighborhood Brewing's seasonal dark beer. The Dark Magic Horchata Milk Stout. Sweetened with a touch of lactose and vanilla. Kicked up a notch with a pinch of cinnamon as well. It is a spellbinding concoction. Whether you've previously been a seasonal beer drinker or not, try it. The Dark Magic Horchata Milk Stout from Neighborhood.
And let's get to Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats. It's about Kiefer Sherwood today. 6 goals. And our friends at Big Head Hockey, there you go, there's the tweet. More goals this season than David Pastrnak, Adrian Kempe, Austin Matthews, Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, and Dylan Guenther. Kiefer Sherwood.
Yeah.
Still early.
It's still early, but I mean, it's early, but now past the 10-game mark or at the 10-game mark, this is when you start to,
take stock.
Yeah, like I mean, it's a decent sample, folks. It's not after 6 games, not after 4 games. Like it's a decent sample, and getting to 6 goals at this point, Matt, the math is just in your favor. You still got 72 games left to get 24 more goals.
A lot of people thought that, 19 goals last year, very high shooting percentage, higher than his career average, that it was going to be a career season for Kiefer Sherwood. Now he's shooting 31.5% right now, so he will not be shooting 31.5%.
But he's got 72 games,
Perhaps.
Matt. Listen to me here.
To
get 24 more goals.
24. Whoa.
24 more goals? Is he a 30-goal scorer?
I don't think so. But at this stage of the game, I'd be very disappointed if he's not 20.
The Canucks got a very interesting decision to make, regardless of what his end total is, because I think it's safe to say he'll be above 15 goals by the trade deadline. no matter what you think he's capable of, I will go out on a not so long limb and say
9 more.
Yeah, it's just 9 more. So
a lot of games between now and early March.
So even let's say it's the worst case scenario, he's really slows down, but he's at 16 goals at the trade deadline. Given how he plays the game, if the Canucks are in a playoff position, great, they can use him, and they can think about re-signing him. If the Canucks are not looking great, he's a fabulous trade chip.
I think they're going to have a long conversation about getting him under contract before that. But I hear what you're saying.
But they can't overpay for a guy who's already past 30, right? So.
Right. He was a 13.5% shooter last year. He's a career 11.6% shooter, and that has even come up because of this extraordinary 31% shooting percentage on 19 shots this season. So, the Vancouver Canucks needed goals from unexpected places. They also needed goals from the guys who did score last year, and so far Kiefer Sherwood checking boxes there.
Yeah. Uber wants you to check the box. Don't forget to check that little box that says, give me utensils. I always forget to do that.
You don't have utensils at home?
No, but if we order a lot of Asian food, I prefer chopsticks. We did finally, because we kept on doing this, buy our own home set of chopsticks, just in case, but often people don't have that.
Gotcha.
Reminder, from game day eats to your paper plates and napkins, if you're hosting and don't want to do the cleanup, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, after the game, Uber Eats assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. And don't forget, when they're playing at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver, only on Uber Eats.
Old audience members know how I feel about utensils. Knife and fork, even for my pizza.
Tell me not for Asian. You're not eating sushi with a knife and fork.
No, chopsticks.
Okay. Thought that's what you were saying.
Chopsticks also for pho.
Yes.
Although I still use a spoon, Blake just stylishly lifts the bowl and drinks it.
That's the way they would do when in Rome, as they say.
Okay. The Lucas Reichel trade. We had a itty-bitty unpacking of this on Friday as it broke as we were ready to sign off the live portion of the show. But let's dig in a little more via Jay Fresh and the hockey card here, which isn't all that flattering. But great speed, good hands, rush creator, probably more playmaker than finisher, but has lacked vision in the NHL. They're trying to make him a center despite a career 40% face-off percentage and not being able to beat out Chicago's centers. Saw some things out of Chicago that, he always looked great in practice. Maybe it's stage fright in games. Who knows? But needless to say, for the cost of a 2027 fourth-round pick, and the Canucks had 3 of those, including Chicago's, not to mention, and this is something we didn't say on Friday, but applies, and incidentally, the Canucks just sent Chicago back their fourth-rounder in 2027. $1.2 million salary for this year and club control beyond. 1.2, folks, is right around the threshold of entirely variable in the minors, so that you would hold virtually no money on that salary if you did have
it's
to
below
send
the
them.
threshold.
It's
1.2.
below, yeah, sorry, it is. Yeah, because the threshold's gone up this year.
now or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's below the threshold. So here's the thing. Blake and I have said this for years. We are for any player acquisition of a salary below that threshold. Because if it doesn't work out,
it's only
you
Frankie's
send him
money.
It's only
Frankie's
all
money.
it costs
Yeah.
is Francesco and Aquilini money. It does not cost you NHL salary cap space. And if the player gets claimed on waivers on the way down, so be it.
It's
worth a shot, and it's particularly worth a shot given the desperate plight they are at center ice with no Hedel and no Blueberry.
And who was it on the Hawks? Somebody came out after the trade and said, we want to make it abundantly clear, we do not we did not give up on the player. Like, we like the player. The player felt like they needed a new start, and that's why the trade was made. They were not down on Lucas Reichel. And
I have the quote from Jeff Blashill, their head coach.
That's it. It was Jeff.
We had a tough conversation, or we had tough conversations, plural.
Yeah.
I thought he handled it like a complete pro. I certainly wish him the best of luck. Sometimes you can thrive in different opportunities, and honestly, I hope for him that's the case. He wasn't going to get the same opportunity here. We had made decisions, obviously, where we had other guys ahead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a no-brainer move. Let's face it, and this is not to speak ill of him because he just got here, but it probably won't work out in the way that, Lucas Reichel wants it to work out. But it's not impossible for it to go down that road.
It probably won't work out the way the Vancouver Canucks wanted to work out because they're playing him at center.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if there is a solution here, it is probably more with Lucas Reichel playing on the wing. That said, he arrived Saturday. He was asked about his comfort level at center, and here's what the young German had to say.
Yeah, I think it's fine everywhere on the ice. It's just today, if you look at the draws, I'm not happy with that, but I'm working on it. The last, like you said, the last couple years, didn't take as much draws as I wanted to, but working on it. But as a center, I can gain my speed and use my speed a lot, so that's where I'm most comfortable at.
Yeah, and I was super surprised to see that he had played most of his time in the middle this year, because I just viewed him as a winger. I mean, we had a conversation about this player prior to roster set deadline because everybody expected a trade from the Chicago Blackhawks at that time, and said, well, be a worthy reclamation project if you thought he could play center, but he looked like he had been kicked to the wing for forevermore in his NHL career. Alas, no, he's getting another opportunity, so why not? It's not like the Canucks are so deep at wing they couldn't fit him there if he showed something.
Well, I was going to say, if Hedl comes back, then all of a sudden you got something interesting there. He had funny deployment in Chicago. He's either on the first line wing with Bedard, or he was on the fourth line center with not good offensive players. And Blake, we've also talked, the Canucks have mused about moving Hedl to the wing where maybe he is less susceptible to the type of hits that he took. A lot less open ice, potentially.
From Tom Wilson of Washington the other thing
to consider with Reichel is his age. He's 23 for the entirety of the season. We are talking. He is a guy, he's 5-6 months older than Aatu Ratu, that's it. He's younger than Linus Karlsson. He's younger than Max Sasson. So if you are thinking, let's see if these guys are NHL players, well, don't formulate an opinion on Lukas Reichel just yet. He's much younger than those guys. Like, he's allowed to develop a little bit more still, I think, Lukas Reichel. Again, zero problem with this trade. For a fourth-round pick, you would do backflips if your fourth-round pick turned out to be Lukas Reichel doing these things right now, because you found an NHLer in the fourth round, so no problem with it.
As for the old injuries, Patrick Allvin addressed that on Friday after making the Lukas Reichel trade. I say old injuries, meaning not Quinn Hughes and not Victor Mancini. Allvin said Hedl's making progress, but still needs to go through the protocol and hasn't been cleared. Needless to say, the protocol will be the biggest hurdle there for a guy coming off his, 6th or 7th career concussion. They're anticipating Jonathan Lekkerimäki is going to be 2 to 3 more weeks. It's going to be a couple of weeks at least for Teddy Bluger, Allvin said. And Blake, believe it or not, Derek Forbort had a setback after that maintenance day, or maybe prior to that maintenance day. He's going to be week to week. Allvin also complaining about the lack of practice time. Says that's a challenge in terms of getting players back onto the ice. Yes, it's a condensed schedule with the Olympic break this year, although it was a condensed schedule last year with the Four Nations break as well.
It is a little bit more, but I mean, they're all pretty condensed these days. The good news is by declaring Forbort as a maintenance day and not an injury a couple weeks ago, they threw the opposition for a loop that night and gave the Canucks all sorts of advantages. So, especially in October, big games. The
advanced scout came running into the room in Pittsburgh and Nashville and
went,
no Forbort, guys, no Forbort, throw out everything that I taught you. We got to go back to square one here, guys, because Derek Forbort is, in fact, not playing. We thought it was a maintenance day. Turns out it was a setback. New game plan, all eyes on me.
Maintenance day.
Did you hear New York Jets coach Aaron Glenn last week? And generally a pretty happy guy. He was a terrific NFL player. People were asking about the status of his quarterback, Justin Fields, and how long it was going to be. And he said, well, I'm not telling you because I just don't want to. And the reporters took
honest.
They took a second and third crack. They're like, you're just intentionally keeping it away from us just out of personal choice. It's not a strategic thing.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, because I just don't want to. You can ask me the question a million times. The answer is not changing. I just don't want to. He was this close to a Herm Edwards play to win the game moment at that podium.
I part of me respects that more than this. Anyhow.
And happy sports equinox, everybody. For the 32nd time in human history, the Big Four sports leagues all have a game scheduled on the same day. You have Monday Night Football with Washington and Kansas City tonight. You have 11 regular season games in the association. You have 2 NHL hockey games tonight. They don't love Monday nights when the NFL is on, but you got Blues Penguins and Bruins Senators tonight, the latter on Prime. And, of course, you got World Series Game 3, not to mention you have 2 MLS playoff games.
It's a super sports equinox.
It really is.
Because the 5 North American sports are
a double rainbow.
Starting to look like a triple.
Yeah, we have not included MLS in the past in this, but you're right, Blake. It's a super sports equinox. I like that MLS gives me playoff games most every day to watch if I'm so inclined. And then later in the week, they're taking Thursday and Friday off. I went, guys, Friday's a really good night.
Yeah, something should be one there for sure.
Yeah.
I've got one word for you that could explain it. Supercross. I don't know the stadium availability everywhere, but it's been known to take down the MLS before.
Caps keep winning. There is that date, November.
Yeah.
Supercross is booked. And as we know, they need a lot of setup and takedown time. Okay. Time now for our menu. It's brought to you by Greta, a fantastic spot to pregame or postgame. You were mere steps from the arena or the stadium. But it's an even better spot for your upcoming party or event. If you need a venue for team building, sociables, check out Greta. They have the fantastic street food menu, the Birra Tacos, my favorite. The arcade, always fun, game for everybody. For more info, book your event. Go to gretabar.com. 50 West Cordova. Greta, let the games begin. We'll talk to JPat here. So much to talk about with Jeff. Oh, my God, everything. Hughes, Petey, Lankin, Reichel, JT Miller's in town tomorrow, you may have heard.
Yeah.
Get into that as well. And then later in the program, Asa Raymani calls Whitecaps games for CKNW. Him and Colin Miller were at it yesterday for that tremendous victory from Vancouver Whitecaps FC at BC Place. 3-0 they beat FC Dallas, now one win away from advancing to the Western Conference semifinals, the league quarterfinals, a place they have only been a couple of times in their MLS history. Later in the show, we'll also talk about the BC Lions with a famous victory in their own right Saturday at Regina and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. That guarantees a home playoff game here Saturday against Calgary in the West Division Final. There were NFL games on the weekend. UBC had a hell of a weekend in sports with a couple of at-the-death thrillers. We'll tell you about those, plus World Series Game 3, the curse of the Colonel, and an international incident. It's all coming up in the final block of the program after Asa joins us. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I did the whole Don Taylor special thing on Friday, in part because I couldn't believe the odds on Dallas winning this game or even drawing this game in Vancouver. The Don Taylor special, you bet against the team you hope that wins. That way you come out winning somehow.
The underdog would need to get past half.
That's right.
In order for you to have a chance.
They were plus 500 to win the game. Like in regular season, that's probably what, plus 300, plus 350. So I sat there, my eyes got big with the value, and I was a massive loser. So you go ahead.
I have been denied on this prop before, but I'm going to go there today. And that is pitcher strikeouts.
You want unders here, Blake, because the hook is coming quick for these guys.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I hope you've learned your lesson there.
It's just too big for Scherzer, so I'm going to go with Glasnow instead. The under 5.5, especially with the Jays, who are not swing and missers. We know this. Plus 125. Take the under 5.5 for Tyler Glasnow.
You're going under 5.5 strikeouts for Glasnow.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing about Glasnow, I was looking at this moments ago, actually, before we went. He does not give up a lot of hits. He is really difficult to get a hit against. Most major league pitchers are going to be about a hit per inning. The good ones are shy of that. Over his career, he's 575 hits in 754 innings.
Wow.
Now, he does make it up by walking guys from time to time.
And the Jays could walk all the way around.
Do they ever? Do they ever? But Glasnow strikeouts, 8 and 8 in his last 2 games. 3 in relief in 1 game.
But he hasn't been facing these patient
Blue Jays hitters who do an extraordinary job with 2 strikes. Alejandro said that to a friend on Friday. If you go back 2-3 years ago, Blake, to the last time they had playoff teams, they took maddening at-bats through the lineup. Now, Bo Bichette is a first-pitch fastball ambush hitter. I get it. You're not going to change that about Bo. But the rest of the lineup, I just felt like they never worked counts. They went up to the plate with either no plan or poor plans. Their eyes got big. Everybody wanted to be the hero. Now, to watch the quality of at-bats that the Toronto Blue Jays take, that's how you play the game of baseball at the highest levels. That's how you win at the highest levels in the sport. I'm looking at a few things. I wanted to go over today, but it's 8.5. I'm sort of looking at the Dodgers on the run line at -1.5, or even the Blue Jays at +1.5, but there's not a lot of value there either. So I'm going to project forward. If you like the Jays to win this series, they're +195 right now. If you like, and he's been big for them already, Alejandro Kirk for World Series MVP is +1,800 right now. And while I know he will probably only factor in the 2 games after a start like that for Yamamoto, Blake, he's 9-1 as World Series MVP. If he goes out and pitches another gem in Game 6, and especially if that's the clinching game, he'll have 2 of the 4 wins with the first complete game in 10 years in the World Series. So I'm looking at all of those props in and around this World Series today and beyond. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, never ordinary at Bet365. Open an account, download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. JPat coming up next. Cigars and Price from the historic Wall Center.
And this segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers, more specifically the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. Yeah, a car has requested itself to be the sponsor of this segment because they'd like everybody out there to know how great it is.
It's the AI. It's intuitive.
Fabulous
Smart.
cockpit interior, keep you entertained.
Knows the value of attaching itself to JPat.
Perhaps. That's how great these cars are these days. It's an electric vehicle when you want it to be. When you need it to be a gasser that takes you a little bit farther, it can be that too. That is the beauty of the Toyota Prius plug-in. Actually, I shouldn't say that. The beauty is the beauty of it. It's a sports car, folks. You're going to love this. It is so much fun to drive. Take one for a test drive yourself at your Pacific Toyota dealer. Now you can lease one from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down. It includes a $3,000 discount right now. Visit shoptoyota.ca.
And while you may choose the Prius is choosing JPat here in this segment. That's how smart it is. Our Canucks reporter, the host of Rink Wide Vancouver, had a awfully busy weekend. And Jeff, I'm just going to start there with you, my man, because so much happened, like everything happened this weekend. As you emerge on Monday morning, what are you thinking about? Where's your headspace at, sir?
It's Monday morning. Is it? You can confirm that for me?
I can. Yes, Monday morning.
I don't play the games, but 7 games in 11 nights and 10 games in 17 to start the season. It's been something, and so they have earned a day off here on this Monday, and then they turn around and they go right back at it again. And all things considered, guys, when you think of not just 10 games in 17 nights, but they have touched every time zone that the National Hockey League has to offer. They've been as far south as Dallas, as far east as Washington. Only 4 of the games on home ice, without their number 2 center, without their captain. Like, it's wild in some ways that they are 5-5, and I think they have to be saluted for that. 5-5 is not going to get them where they want to go over the course of a lengthy schedule, but they could have, with everything that was stacked against them, they could easily have played themselves way behind the chase pack here, and to get a good victory in Dallas and a good win over Washington, and to find a way on back-to-back nights to outscore the Edmonton Oilers. I think you do have to applaud this group for this 10-game stretch. Again, 500, that's not the goal. It can't ever be the goal, but they have remained in touch with the playoff bar, and if the bottom had fallen out early, I think you could have probably understood that. So I have to give them credit. And when you think of some of the individual performances, obviously, can those guys stay at that level and keep it up over the course of a long haul? That's to be determined. But my goodness, storylines for days out of this first 10-game stretch of the schedule.
It is tempting to be a little bit greedy and just think, yeah, they are 5-5. They fought back. They had all this good news in a condensed schedule despite all the injuries. And yet they easily could have won on Saturday. They easily could have won in Nashville. Like there is a parallel universe where they're 7-3 right now, Jeff.
Yeah, the Nashville one's going to knot me, I think, for a while again, just because the Preds were not very good that night either, and it was there for the taking. Montreal's a fun team. They're going to beat a lot of teams over the course of the season. And yet, at 5-on-5, the Canucks were the better team on the ice, but penalty kill has kind of quietly become an issue for the hockey club, giving up 10 power play goals in its first 10 games. And that, again, can be explained to some degree. No Teddy Bluger, no Derek Forbort for lots of that. Kevin Lankinen hasn't been nearly good enough and hasn't held up his end of the bargain in his 4 starts, but something to monitor here moving forward. Because we've come through too many seasons here of late where the penalty kill has just sunk the Canucks. They made such great progress and strides last year, and you wanted to think that they would be able to pick up where they left off. Again, there's some reasons behind that. But, yeah, basically giving up a power play goal per game, that's not the answer. So we'll see if they can tighten that up with the guys that they've got. But you're right, Blake. There were other games that were there for the taking, and unfortunately weren't able to get those. But I think this group, and they can't ever be content, but I think if you sat them down and said 5-5 through 10, I think most of these guys would say, yeah, you know what, that's an all right record.
Let's ask you the Redwoods Golf Course poll question then, Jeff. Biggest Canucks story this weekend, the Quinn Hughes injury, Elias Pettersson, he's back, or Kiefer Sherwood and his heroics? Feel free to go off the board, or where are you casting your ballot?
Yeah, and they're all worthy of discussion. Not knowing the Quinn situation, that's concerning, because we've just seen way too many day-to-day injuries with this hockey club turn into something more than that. And is this a result of a guy that plays 30 minutes on some nights just being asked to do too much, and did the schedule ultimately catch up to him? And I still am unclear whether there was an acute moment in the Montreal game, because he finished the game and they pulled the goaltender. He was out there right down to the final buzzer. Or was this something that happened earlier on the road trip that he was just continuing to try to grind through, and ultimately with back-to-back games couldn't play on Sunday night? So they need him. Obviously, they want him in the lineup. I will say that without him, it was interesting to me that because of his stature with this group, too often the Canucks defer to Quinn Hughes, quite frankly. And I thought against Edmonton, without that option, a lot of guys played more straight-ahead hockey and did good things with the puck. So again, they don't want a prolonged absence from the captain, but for a night at the very least, I thought it brought out the best in some of the other guys. And Pettersson obviously picking up some of the slack to score on back-to-back nights. The one-timer was great to see, and obviously the people at the rink were buying into what he was selling. It was kind of funny that moments after the first one-timer on which he scored, it came right back to him in his wheelhouse, and he completely whiffed on it. So he's not all the way back just yet, but certainly some signs. And doing it in a shutdown role, head-to-head against Suzuki, head-to-head against Connor McDavid. I know the coach raved about that post-game as well. So where he continues to deliver on the defensive side of the puck, now he is adding some of that offense that's been missing for far too long. So that's a great development, and they're just going to continue to need more of it from him. And what can you say about Kiefer Sherwood? It's unbelievable. And you just wonder, the meter is clearly running in a contract season, and what a start for him. Already two goal games. The speed was evident, the hustle, the determination that's almost always there, but sneaky finish. And we saw it last year with 19 goals, and now he's up to 6 already. He put the puck on his stick in a shooting position, and there's a little more heat on that shot than I think I certainly gave him credit for before he joined this hockey club. So I'm going to vote the Quinn Hughes story just because we don't fully know, and it could turn into a massive story for the Vancouver Canucks. But because the other guys rose to the challenge in the absence of their captain, I sort of bundle that all together. To me, that probably the biggest story of the weekend.
He's been a top 9 player in most people's minds for his entire career, in Kiefer Sherwood, if not a fourth liner, for heaven's sakes. Connor Garland at times has been a third-line player for the Vancouver Canucks. I think those days are now safely behind us. My honorable mention for the poll question was the better than a point per game Connor Garland. I don't know that we had this on the bingo card to start the season, much like the Sherwood story.
No, well, we had the two Connors that got into it last year. The last time the Oilers were here in the regular season, and of course resulted in suspensions and all kinds of stuff. Now, when the two Connors shared the ice last night and they're separated by a single point at the 10-game mark, come on. That third period shift where he spent basically a minute behind the net, spinning around and stealing the lunch money from a bunch of Oilers, incredible stuff. Had they been able to convert on that shift, it would have been absolutely wild bedlam in the building. So, yeah, Connor Garland's been going since day one. And really, since he hit the ground in Vancouver, he has been a guy that's obviously played with that energy. But there is now a tangible takeaway in the point column. Is he going to be a point-a-game guy over the course of the season? Probably not. He'll find his level, but, man, his level in the first 10 has been amazing and so fun to watch, and nice to see him picking up the points. And so, yeah, kind of a quiet 2-point night because there were so many other storylines, but he was going about his business, contributing and picking up more points there. So, yeah, great start to the season. Nice 10-game sequence and segment for Connor Garland. And, again, we'll just see where it goes from here. But, I mean, one of the reasons that the Canucks have been able to kind of keep their head above water is because of the play of guys like Garland, and so they need him. I mean, given the way this lineup is constituted, even when they had some of the injured guys in there, he's a pretty valuable piece for the Vancouver Canucks, and I think has shown that through 10 games so far.
And he was part of that forward troika in overtime. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I liked it, and I liked Adam Foote's explanation that they had leaned so heavily on Philip Hronek and Marcus Pettersson and even DPD. Again, back-to-back for those guys. Mancini leaves the game late in the second period, so they're essentially down to 5 defensemen. Olivier Joseph still sort of trying to find his game, and he's not being used much, so they leaned a lot on 4 defensemen, and DPD was one of them. Not that DPD would have seen ice time in overtime, but why not? Hronek had the first shift, and I know Sherwood joked after the game that when the coaches said, "You're replacing Hronek," like he was a little confused by that, but we've seen other teams do it. Again, I think we're all trying to figure out Adam Foote and his new coaching staff, and they're going to be learning more. I thought it was a pretty progressive move on the part of the coaches there to throw some of it necessity, but also I think they saw an opportunity, and as it turned out, worked out beautifully for them. So I'm all for it, and through all of it, I don't care if it's 3 defensemen, 3 forwards, whatever, the Canucks found a way 2-0 in games decided beyond regulation time, which is absolutely a massive step forward given how many points they left on the table in those situations last year.
Sorry to bring it up, but we do have to talk about Lankinen here a little bit. And it's not that he's been horrendous, but he hasn't been good. And, of course, that begins to creep the question of Demko starts. Jeff, where are you at on Lankinen? Where do you think they're at on Lankinen? And might we see a scenario where because he's playing so darn well and his backup isn't, that we're going to start to see a little bit more of Thatcher Demko?
Well, there certainly are some red flags on Lankinen's performance. Just the one win in his 4 starts, and he's been lit up. And gave up 5 in Pittsburgh. And for him, his bounce-back game was against a high-flying Habs team that was the highest-scoring team in the National Hockey League when it hit the ice on Saturday afternoon. But he gives up 4 there. And the goals themselves, if I go back to the Pittsburgh game, even the Montreal game, there's not one that I look at and think, just dreadful. But this is the National Hockey League, and no goaltender could look himself in the mirror and say 5 and 4 is getting it done. And St. Louis torched him for a bunch in his first start of the season as well. So he's given up 15 goals in 4 starts, and those are crooked numbers that, again, when I think back to the way that he launched as a Canuck a year ago and won his first 10 road games, and I mean, it was just nothing but sunshine around this guy. there are some, I would say, some red flags there. And because of the point that you make, Matt, that like, how could they not look at this and think, well, if one guy is giving us this level of goaltending on a nightly basis that keeps us in games and allows us to win games, and the other guy is fighting it right now, oh, we got to look at our number one. But that's when they start to invite trouble. And the fact that Adam Foote has been here through Thatcher Demko's injury issues, hopefully that weighs on the coaches' decisions as they move forward here. But they don't have back-to-backs now for a couple of weeks. And so games are spaced out here. And I do start to wonder if that's going to add to Thatcher Demko's workload. And Demko has been so good in the early going this season. And so I would understand it if I was in Adam Foote's shoes. I got to believe that it's Demko on Tuesday against the Rangers. Canucks want to win that one for a lot of reasons. And then you're back out on the road, but there's no back-to-backs on the road trip. So absolutely going to be worth monitoring here. And with so little practice time, that's the other part here. For a guy like Kevin Lankinen, can he find ice to work with Marco Terenius, the goaltending coach, to try to just get his game back so that he becomes a trusted option. But the more he struggles, it's sort of this vicious circle. The more Lankinen struggles, the better Demko plays, the more you think they might lean to Demko, and yet that is not a formula for long-term success for both Demko and the hockey club, because we know what happens when they overuse him. So, 10 games into the season, I was hoping that this wouldn't be a storyline, but you can't deny it. The two goaltenders right now have authored considerably different stories, and so we'll see where it goes from here.
What do you suspect is going to be the defense tomorrow for the Vancouver Canucks?
Management probably out at Value Village shopping for some discounts.
Derek Forbort's not injured. He's just on a maintenance day, so he could be available, right?
The 2-week plus maintenance day now.
Yeah.
Kudratsev's up. And again, Mancini, Foote just said day-to-day after the game, but take that for what it's worth. And this is another thing, too, guys. Just when I think of, we talked about Kevin Lankinen not having practice time, like anybody that's coming back from injury, like generally guys in the National Hockey League want to get a couple of good skates in with their teammates before they jump back into game action. But that's just not going to be an option for a lot of players this year. So it's just a wrinkle to this condensed schedule. But next man up, Kudratsev, I think, makes it 11 defensemen already on the roster here through 10 games for the Vancouver Canucks. This team's been down this road before a lot of times over the years, but even at that, that's a lot of bodies on the roster. They haven't all played. Kudratsev hasn't got in. Willander didn't get a chance. Jimmy Schultz was only up for cap reasons, but it does amount to 11 different defenders that have been on the roster. So let's see what the morning skate brings as far as Mancini and as far as Quinn Hughes, but if Mancini's the latest that can't go, then they are probably looking at Kirill Kudratsev drawing in and making his first appearance of this season. And he's been a great news story for the organization, obviously, in the way that he has developed down in Abbotsford. But boy, they are getting deep already on the defense core early in this season.
I'm not sure we've ever done a hit, Jeff, where we've gone 15 minutes before we've discussed the trade the Vancouver Canucks made, but they did make a trade on Friday, and after we had spoken to you, so we weren't able to get your 2 cents. What did you make of the deal and the early returns from Lucas Reichel in his first weekend as a Canuck?
Yeah, I like the trade. For a 4th-round draft pick, why not? A team in need of warm bodies that can play, and this is a guy they've been linked to for a while. Everybody always talk, you hope that there's upside. Obviously, he hasn't come anywhere close to realizing the potential that had him a first-round draft choice. And, you think, okay, where the Blackhawks are, a first-round pick couldn't crack that lineup. And so I think a lot of people sort of scratch their head about where it's gone wrong for Lucas Reichel. Through it all, the speed is undeniable. And even on, in his debut, he's clocked the fastest speed burst of any Vancouver Canuck this season. So on that front, came as advertised. I think I give him a pass on Saturday. This guy learns of his trade on Friday afternoon. Travel trouble, a 4:00 start against a really good Montreal team. Good on him. You could have understood if I just don't have it on Saturday, but these guys are hockey players. He wanted to change the scenery. He got it. So I'm not going to judge him too much on Saturday. It was a struggle in the faceoff circle for him, but remarkable what a good night's sleep can do, because I thought he was really good against Edmonton in that second-line role with Besser and Kane. Speed was on display there. I wasn't at the game on Saturday, so I watched on TV like a lot of people, but I was in the building, get my own eyes on him on Sunday, and In open ice, the guy can move without a doubt, and this team can use all the added speed that it can acquire right now. He was much better in the faceoff circle, and he drew the Draisaitl matchup for most of the night when McDavid and Draisaitl weren't paired together, and that's not easy. And so I know Draisaitl scored a couple of goals, but I thought there were moments. Reichel had a couple of scoring chances himself, set up Tyler Myers for what looked like a tap-in in the blue paint that didn't quite connect. But all things considered, that this guy was in and part of the Chicago Blackhawks on Friday afternoon and now has played 2 games already for the Vancouver Canucks. If anybody could use a day off, it's probably Lukas Reichel. Another guy that's not going to get much practice time, though. It's going to be learning on the fly and sort of getting the new systems down and figuring out what the coaches want from him. But I might give him certainly a passing grade in his first 2 games. And I thought, like most of the guys, it was hard to find anybody that really didn't contribute in their own way to the win over the Oilers. So for a 4th-round pick, why not? I think it was the kind of trade that the Canucks have to roll the dice on.
We know Brock is a feeler. We know he's an animal lover. I can hear the old hockey men howling about you gave him leave for the team for the death of a pet, but he paid that back off last night in spades, Jeff, with his performance. What did you make of them giving him leave to go home and deal with the death of his dog?
Yeah, I guess when I found out that it was a dog, a little bit surprised, but in saying that, I know what those dogs, and he's got 2 of them, and I know what they mean to Brock Besser, and doesn't have children of his own right now, so this is part of his family. And guy's been through a lot in his time, the decade that he's been in the Vancouver Canuck organization. So when I understood that the dog was in his last days, there's a part of me, I'm not a dog owner, but I am a pet owner, and I can understand it. Early in the season, the fact that the Canucks had a few wins under their belt already, I don't know if that, had they gone out on the road and lost the first couple and the heat was continuing to be turned up, does that change the equation in any way? We'll never know. But he hustled back to Nashville and got back in the lineup, so it turned out to be a 2-game absence for him. And that first goal, I just liked a lot about that first goal last night. Evander Kane has been under the gun a little bit, and to see him get on his scooter there and win a foot race, and then the pass to Besser. And, we're so used to Brock pulling the trigger with the big snapshot to see him go to the backhand, little off-speed pitch. The Canadian fools, Calvin Pickard, whatever the case, through all of this, and, not just the 2-game absence, I have to imagine that Brock had known that the dog was in failing health, and that's probably been on his mind for a while. So for him to have 4 goals through the 8 games that he's played, plus he had the shootout winner in Chicago, add it all up, and that's a really nice start to Brock Besser, who's looking to have the bounce-back season after scoring just 25 times last year.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I thought I was a little surprised, but then it instantly made sense to me given the person here in Besser. All right, JT in the house tomorrow. And by the way, how do you think JT would react to it? You're taking leave for a dead dog? JT in the house tomorrow, what are you anticipating? Cheers, jeers, combination of both? Do you think this could be as emotional and spicy a game as we have seen in the regular season from the Canucks?
Yeah, I'm not expecting Armageddon on ice, but I think that the Rangers got their lunch fed to them by the Calgary Flames. Did I just say that sentence? I think they did.
Yes, you did.
So it becomes an instant bounce-back game and some sort of response for the Rangers starting their road trip with a dud. They've been better on the road than they have been at home, but that was their first outright loss away from MSG. So, it's on JT's watch. He's the captain. He has to sort of take some ownership for every performance like that. So I would think that he'd want to atone for his play and his team's play. The fact that Elias Pettersson is the Canucks matchup center, like you can't draw, write this kind of script. They're going to go head to head. I just don't see any other way that that won't be the matchup. So right from the drop of the opening puck, if that's the way that Mike Sullivan wants to line things up and get JT out there for the opening faceoff, it could be game on, battle on between those two guys head to head. So certainly the game within the game, they're going to get a lot of attention. And I have to think that there will be some fans that try to get the JT Miller chance going, that even though it's a home game for the Canucks, there are people out there that think the Canucks traded the wrong guy. JT's got his crew here I think there will be some people that try to get some JT Miller chants going. The great test, and he is a pro through and through, but if JT Miller were to score a goal, will Al Murdoch have to fight the urge?
Oh, yes.
I think he'll play it cool, and he knows where the bread is buttered, but that's a bridge that'll be crossed in time, I suppose, if JT puts the puck in the net. How does it go? What kind of reaction there? So, yeah, I love storylines, and there are plenty of them heading into this one, and for the Vancouver Canucks trying to follow up a good win over the Edmonton Oilers, for the Rangers trying to bounce back, and for JT, a guy that likes to sort of play it pretty cool. I do wonder if there will be some emotions, because he's going to get the scoreboard video tribute, as he should, for his incredible years of service here as a member of the Vancouver Canucks. So, it's going to be an interesting night all around.
Yeah, you wonder if the Let's Go Petey chant will pop up in response to any JT Miller chants.
If there's a JT Miller chant, somebody, there'll be an equal group that yells "sucks" after the JT Miller part, I think.
Yeah, well, here's what I do know. The building should have a majority Canuck fan in it tomorrow night. Holy cow, Jeff, we're turning into Lumen Field here. I realize it was 2 Canadian teams, but my goodness, were there a lot of Habs and Oilers fans in the building this weekend.
Yeah, and not a surprise with Montreal. We know that over the years that Hab fans come out in force. This has been a development, though, I would say, in the last decade, and maybe it's the McDavid factor. It's as simple as that. Oiler fans found their way into Rogers Arena in huge numbers, and I know that our colleagues from Edmonton were part of that last night with the Nation Network and the 60-so fans that they had. So sorry to them that they didn't get to celebrate a victory. However, look, tickets are available on the secondary market. And
Not even on the primary market, too.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So there is an ease of access if people have the money and are willing to spend it, where when those tickets were all spoken for, it was hard for visiting teams or fans of visiting teams to get their hands on them, to even get access to the building. So, it's a multi-layered sort of story there. But yes, through it all, and the Habs fans didn't have a whole lot to cheer about until the third period, and then they came alive when the Oilers showed some signs of life in the third period, started to get a little rowdy in there as well. So another Original 16 coming in. The Rangers will have their fans, not to the same degree that Montreal or Edmonton, but you'll see some blue shirts in the building as well. And again, that'll just add to what should be a fun night of hockey.
Indeed so. Great stuff, Jeff. Thank you for this. We'll be watching, listening Rink-Wide Vancouver after the game against the Rangers on Tuesday, and we got another early start Thursday in St. Louis. We'll catch up on Friday after that one.
Sounds good. Anything you want me to pass along to JT when I run into him tomorrow?
Oh, just how much we miss him.
Yeah, we miss him so much.
Miss him so much. And,
All right.
we're not going to make a big deal of their lack of goals at home. It's a unique situation. We
Let's not blow it out of proportion.
He's got this.
Yeah.
We get it. Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Blake, I was thinking about it. I have at least 3 baseball games to watch this week. I have at least 2 hockey games for the home team. We got another big soccer playoff match on the weekend, as well as a big football home game here at BC Place. I'm not going to have time to cook.
No. Ain't no time for cooking.
I'll be ordering pizza.
And you'll do it with very little money leaving your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
The double XL 3-topping pizza is $19.99.
So they're like giving it away.
That's an 18-inch pizza, 8 huge slices. It's the go-to game viewing pizza. Don't forget the creamy garlic dip, too, if you are so inclined. Only a pizza, actually Canadian. I ordered pizza. We had a Halloween party for grade 10s at our house on the weekend, and we ordered 6 of these bad boys.
And did any survive till the next morning? We've talked about how it's better cold the next morning. Did any survive?
The only slices that survived were the ones ground into my floor.
You asked for it, bud.
Yes, I did.
Grade 10's Halloween party. What could possibly go wrong? And our next guest is a sports anchor with Global BC, but the play-by-play voice of Vancouver Whitecaps FC on radio, CKNW, with our friend Colin Miller. They had the game yesterday, as they've had all the games through this extraordinary Whitecaps season. It's our pleasure to welcome Asa Raymond to Sekeres and Price. How you doing, fella? Thanks for the time here today.
Well. Thanks so much for having me on. And my youngest daughter is a huge fan of pizza as well. It's her favorite pizza when we were living in Toronto. So she would often remind me that pizza is the best pizza, and was thrilled to see it in our neighborhood as well. So she's a massive fan of pizza.
We have no leftovers.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to load up here. You got another big one on the weekend. You was driving around yesterday, so you guys do such a great job, pregame, postgame, halftime analysis. And look, I got to admit, I was a little worried for them going into this game with who was missing and the fact that the chips were down. And now
you did the hedge bet on Bet365.
No, I know. Here comes the pressure. I mean, the phrase "cap's gonna cap" had been a thing, but my goodness, Asa, they were magnificent yesterday in a 3-0 win against Dallas. How'd you see the game?
Yeah, they were, and you weren't the only ones. There are a few people that were wondering how they'd approach the playoffs. We'd seen them kind of stumble in the playoffs before. You were wondering how they'd approach this game, especially with the injuries that we've seen them deal with throughout the year. And going into this game, still no Brian White, still no Tristan Blackman, Matthias Laborda out because of a suspension, yet they find a way once again. And that's been the story of the season so far. Ryan Gauld going down early in the season, Sam Adekubi going down early in the season, and other players stepping up. And when you looked at this back line, I think going into the season, who would have thought going into game one of the playoffs, you'd be starting a back four of Eddie Ocampo on the right side, Bilal Halbouni and Ralph Priso, the two center backs, and then Tate Johnson on the left. And you get a clean sheet 3-0 victory against FC Dallas. Like, it was incredible. I don't think anyone anticipated that, but that's been the way they've played all season long, just exceeding expectations, and everyone playing, I think, above their level or above what we expected going into the season. That goes from Sebastian Berhalter to Ralph Priso to Emmanuel Sabi. I don't know what the expectations were for him going into the season, but you know, he's the type of player that I think he gets overlooked as far as man of the match goes. Every time he has one of these games, I think he had a game where he scored 2 goals, and that just so happened to be the game Thomas Muller scores 3. Like, it just seems like Sabi has this incredible game, and then, Ali Ahmed was great as well, and he kind of gets the attention. Or Thomas Muller gets, like, Sabi's been great. Like, everyone's been performing at such a high level this year.
I was listening to you guys, and the phrase "best performance of the season" came up, Asa.
Yeah, and I think it was. I mean, and they've had a few of these games. You think of the Philadelphia Union game where, 7-0 win. It's probably the biggest statement win, but at the same time, Philadelphia rotated a lot. Kai Wagner didn't start in that game. They rotated, they rested, and the Whitecaps capitalized on that occasion. But with everything that was going into this game, the injuries, it being a playoff game, having a statement performance at home, and it was perfect. 3-0 win, not a shot on goal, not a shot for Yohei Takaoka to even kind of blink at. Like, it was incredible. Defensively, perfect performance. Offensively, you get Daniel Rios getting the opening goal. And I think a lot of fans were hoping for that to happen as well. So, yeah, I think it was as good a performance as we've seen from these Whitecaps so far.
I think Ralph Priso's thinking to himself, this center back stuff is easy. I barely have to touch the ball, for God's sakes. The fullbacks are doing some work.
4 games, he's got this.
Yeah, and he's mobile.
So, Asa, why do you say that? Because we've sweated it. I think is it 4 appearances at that position, career now? Yeah. But why do you say it's a good spot for him?
Blake mentioned it. He's mobile. Like, he's a central midfielder that can move, that is comfortable with the ball at his feet, likes to play that decisive pass, that penetrating pass that kind of unlocks the defense. And now he just has more time on the ball as a center back. So there's a little bit more space for him to operate. He's sort of sneaky fast, if you will. Like, he's a big physical presence, but he's a fast midfielder. And I was mentioning this to Colin as well. I haven't seen anyone really outrun him. He's as fast as he needs to be in most situations and scenarios. And, I think that center back spot is perfect. There was one moment, there was an early ball over the top, kind of between the channel, between Tate Johnson and Ralph Priso, and he got going. He had maybe 4 or 5 yards, and whoever was running, it might have been Sam Sarver, just gave up on it. Like, he was good because Priso had it covered. So he has that speed. He has that ability. I think it's a good fit for him, that center back spot.
Bilal Halbouni's played very well at center back. Matthias Laborda comes back from suspension for game number 2. The big question for us now is, as dominant as they were, do you bother rushing back or changing things up too much if the extra bit of rest gives you like a week and a half more for guys like Tristan Blackman and Brian White to be more fully fit for when the rubber likely meets the road against LAFC in round 2? You shouldn't count chickens before they're hatched, but there is some game planning here for Jesper Sorensen to do, and right down to the fact that, let's say you saw enough from Jodrik Pupa that you'd be intrigued to put him in and kick Laborda to take Tate Johnson. Tate Johnson played pretty well. Like, do you bother making those little tinkers, or do you just kind of do what you did? You'd have Laborda instead of Priso as a center back, but outside of that obvious change, do you just keep on keeping on as long as you feel like you can?
I think so, Blake. And I was even thinking that going into this series, like, you don't have to really play that card till you're in that single elimination game. And they're not there yet, right? The fact that they won game 1 of the best of 3, their backs aren't up against the wall yet. They could probably get it done in Dallas with the group that they have. You're right, you get Laborda back as well. I think it was great to get Pupa some minutes. I think that they wanted to get him those minutes on decision day. It just didn't work out that way because of the early red card in that one. So it was nice to see him get some minutes, and I think he instantly became a fan favorite with the yellow card. I don't know if you caught that when he got card to the referee. So I think he's a lot of fun to watch, but you don't have to mix things up just yet. Probably a similar approach to the next one. Try to get Pupa some minutes. But not force anything, because this group looks great. Like, the performance was perfect defensively. And a big part of it as well is Sebastian Berhalter and Andres Cubas, obviously just in front of that back four, kind of snuffing everything out, getting stuck in. So the way it's set up right now, I think they're comfortable, and it's great. And then, Yohei Takaoka doesn't have to do much either. So if it ain't broke, right?
Look at who comes off the bench late, guys. Cabrera, Gauld, and Nelson. Those are your bench guys. First,
they're exceptional.
You'd happily start the match with all 3 of those guys. It's absolutely incredible. And this, for a team, we're talking about the strength of the depth here, guys. This is a mid at best salary, in comparison to the rest of Major League Soccer, and most of these guys are young and affordable for next season as well. It's a pinch me kind of situation here for Whitecaps fans.
It really is. And those 3 guys, I think, are perfect off the bench right now. And I'm curious to see if Gauld ends up just sort of being this guy with the knee injury that he's been dealing with and probably will deal with throughout the playoffs here. But what a weapon to have. Gauld coming in for 20 minutes or half an hour off the bench. And Kenji Cabrera is fun to watch as well. So, you've got these guys. Jaden Nelson, we know what he can do with his speed. Terrifying for the opposition to see these guys coming off the bench after you've been dealing with Sabi and Ali Ahmed for 60, 70 minutes, and then you got more speed coming onto the game. So it's an embarrassment of riches right now. But a lot of it, I think, goes back to Jesper Sorensen and what he's kind of brought out of these guys, because I had some of these guys last year as well, and you're just seeing them kind of take their game to another level here.
Well, and it's funny because you guys talk about that lot, and I talked about how nervous I was for them, especially with the back line going into the match. And perhaps we should spend some time, and perhaps there should have been more focus on the 2 holding midfielders here, Asa, Sebastian Berhalter and Andres Cubas, who have been magnificent tip to tail this season. I heard Colin say yesterday he thought that might have been Kubas's best game as a Whitecap, and Berhalter was named the team's best player this season. A word or two about those mainstays and how important they've been.
The best in the league. For me, that dual pivot in the middle of the park is the best in the league. Colin has been screaming for this partnership for a couple of years now, I think, because he describes them as 2 pit bulls in the middle of the park, and they're exactly that. It's so hard to go through that middle for the Vancouver Whitecaps. So we see them just snuff out everything on the defensive side of things. And then offensively, I think part of the reason why Colin mentioned that this might have been Kubas's best performance is because of how involved he was in the offense. He was getting further forward. Usually we see what he does defensively, but to see him kind of get forward, get involved in the attack, be a part of these transition moments, these odd man rushes. It was awesome. So that's another weapon for the Caps going forward. Berhalter, player of the year. And you could have taken your pick there. So many players stepping up for the Caps this year. But Berhalter's been exceptional with his distribution, but those shots from long range as well. And he had a couple teed up yesterday, and he gets everybody on the edge of their seats, if not standing, when he tees up from about 30, 40 yards. So, those two, for me, best in the league and difference makers. And we were saying before the Pedro Vite move, and forgot that we had Pedro Vite here for the early part of the season, but that was the best kind of three. When it went 4-3-3, and that midfield three, I thought was the best in the league. So they just kind of moved things around. Thomas Muller comes in, Pedro Vite goes out. It's a middle two, and still the best in the league for my money.
Thomas Muller at his age, playing 90 minutes a night these days, and making it look rather effortless. Still all the gusto at the end in the post-game interviews.
Clinical from the spot, and you just see the confidence of the other guys around him swell.
Right,
when he's on
and
the
he's
ball.
a coach out there. You can see him doing it. There is a calm, and this is what should allow Whitecaps fans to dream a little bit, Asa, in that they really have it all. And other teams are going to bunker down. Even LAFC, for people that don't watch LAFC, they are a counter team. They will allow the Whitecaps to have the ball. And again, we're counting chickens before they're hatched here. But if you allow yourself to go down that road where both of these teams advance, if that's the team that scares you, they will allow the Whitecaps to have the ball. And you can see how they break down these low blocks now because Muller's there with all of his magic.
Oh, it's a great point, Blake. And he is de Duter, the finder of space. And we see him like pop out in these wide areas. And Kenji Cabrera kind of slide inside, Ali Ahmed, whoever's on the pitch, and they just keep finding space. And then I mentioned Andres Cuba's kind of venturing further forward as well. What he brings to the table as far as kind of breaking down these low blocks is the X factor for the Vancouver Whitecaps. You're right, Matt, and how clinical he is from the spot, brings everybody up, but he can kind of give them something in these moments. These little delicate, swift passes inside for Emmanuel Sabi inside the 18. Like, he gives them so much. And just really looking forward to that potential match against LAFC, because it was a great crowd on Sunday for the Vancouver Whitecaps. I imagine that's going to be a full stadium if it is indeed LAFC and the Vancouver Whitecaps at BC Place.
Well, in part because of Sonny. The Korean international added in the transfer window late to LAFC's, did nothing but score 9 goals in 9 games for them. I mean, we saw how the Korean community here in Vancouver got behind YP Lee all those years ago, Asa. Like, this guy is, galaxies, stratospheres above Lee. I mean, this could be a gigantic game if LAFC has to come here in a couple of weeks. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
No, we shouldn't jinx it.
That is the one, right? That, I think a lot of people, even going into this matchup, who's kind of penciling in, that's a home game potentially. If everything falls the way you expect it to, that's going to be the one. And great rivalry between these teams before Muller and Son. It's been really good over the last couple of years. So I think, the Caps would love that. Still got some work to do against FC Dallas. And I'd like to see the Caps get it done on Saturday, give themselves a little more rest. It's going to be a lot of rest, maybe too much rest. I don't know. But I think you want to kind of just get things done and then look ahead to the next one, whoever that might be.
If it means Tristan Blackman and Brian White are in the starting lineup, that's the kind of rest that I don't think anybody will mind. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah,
it is Saturday. It is a 6:30 kickoff our time. Is that correct? Do I have that right? 6:30 kickoff our time from Dallas. Asa and Colin Miller will have the call on the radio side with CKNW. Great to have you on the show, my dude. Appreciate the time. Have a great call on Saturday. Looking forward to this story.
Thanks so much, guys. Always a pleasure.
Carson Price from the historic Wall Center and the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. Game night, make it a game weekend. Big game next weekend, to say the least, at BC Play. Turn that ticket into a downtown getaway with a special Carson Price rate here at the Wall. Book now, 604-331-1000. Say you heard it here. Some blackout date supply based on availability. Just finishing up with on the Whitecaps there. They do have a recent history of big playoff margins, Blake. They don't have a history of advancing, so let's hope one of those trends ends. Of course, they won the wild card round last year down in Portland 5-0. They came back here, beat LAFC 3-0 at BC Place in Game 2 of their series. And, of course, the last time they advanced to the conference semifinals in the West, 2017, they beat San Jose 5-0 to get there. This was only the second MLS playoff match ever where a team was held without a shot on goal. Extraordinary that they did that.
Now, the context...
Priso is a fourth-string center back when they're all healthy. Albuni's a third-string center back when they're all healthy.
But it's not because of their defending. And that's all due respect to Albuni and Priso. They don't need to defend. When you have the ball all the time. That's the defense. And
it's like Quinn Hughes' defense. You know, he's not spending a lot of time in his own zone without the puck.
Right, so he doesn't have to defend much. The other match that you talked about, with 0 shots, was a 0-0 defensive showdown. That's not what this was.
No.
This was something entirely different. And the one thing I'll say about any sort of reputation of the Whitecaps in the past, think about the CONCACAF Champions Cup, though. That was a playoff practice, if you will.
Yeah.
Do-or-die games,
good call.
High-pressure situations, and they made it all the way to the final there. And I know everyone knows they would like a redo of the final, but let's cross those bridges when we get to them. In the meantime, stepping up in the early stages of a tournament like that, that's what they're in right now. I think they can do it.
And more good local tidings in soccer as UBC's men's team, with not just a goal at the death, but a goal at the death in double overtime on literally the last touch of the game to beat the University of Fraser Valley and advance to the Canada West final, which means they're going back to the national championships. Look at the celebration here for those of you on visual platforms. We are all chasing the goal scorer, Henry Godbout, because we know just how big a goal this was for a program that has a lot of history but was on the verge. Oh, look at the poor Fraser Valley players laying strewn on the pitch, knowing if we had defended for a few more seconds. Anyways,
good for them, though.
Good luck to UBC.
Good for Fraser Valley. That's a little bit of a different size of talent pool between those two schools.
Needless to say, and not the only last-minute heroics for UBC sports. More on that in a second. BC Lions got the job done when it mattered. Coming back to beat Saskatchewan, a 6th straight win. The alternative was crossing over to the East playoffs. That's because both Calgary and Winnipeg won in front of them this weekend, meaning the Lions were headed to Montreal in the East Division semifinal with a loss. Instead, Nathan Rourke, Keon Hatcher, BC's two best players this season, combined on a game-winning touchdown with 4 minutes to play, capping a 6-play, 73-yard drive. I saw you liking Rourke and having to escape the rush and throw that ball shotgun.
Ad hoc.
Yeah, like a Patrick Mahomes-style play for Nathan Rourke. Aiden Eberhardt with 2 TD catches in this game, including a 63-yarder on the first play of the game, and then he cowboy-toughed his way into the end zone on the second one. BC will host the Calgary Stampeders Saturday, 2:30 BC Place, with the winner moving on to Regina to face the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the West Division final. The Lions beat the Stamps in this very game in 2023 and 2022 before backsliding last year and hitting the road for the playoffs.
How about Mr. Finley in the safety position with an interception in a 4th straight game?
And
never seen anything like that.
Somebody mentioned to me that the conversation, I have to talk to Benny and RP about it, but somebody mentioned to me that the conversation going forward, because of how well North Vance Jackson Finley has played, is that they may just leave him there at safety and take their other fine young Canadian safety, Christophe Beaulieu, and move him more into a linebacker role to get both guys.
Yeah, because they're both useful
on the field. And think of it, if you can have 2 good young Canadian players in those spots and Mathieu Betts on the defensive end, I mean, That is the sort of Canadian content advantage that we were accustomed to with some of Wally's best teams, right? Where they had great Canadian players in positions where you didn't normally find great Canadian players, like the defensive ends, Johnson and Foley, able to use American guys in other non-traditional places.
RP seen ball hawks in the secondary.
RP was
heart.
The ball hawk in the
heart.
secondary. Did a great job of reading quarterbacks over his illustrious career. Nathan Rourke finishes his MOP candidacy, 23 of 28 for 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. He falls just 6 yards short of Bo Levi Mitchell for the league lead in passing yards, but he does eclipse 5,000. Congratulations to Nathan. Had him on the show last week. Keon Hatcher finishes the campaign with a league-leading 1,688 receiving yards. Blake, that's 245 more than next best, which is like 2 good games for a receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of an MOP candidate. You're only allowed 1 per team, but my goodness. Justin McInnes finished 3rd on that list, despite battling injury down the stretch. And James Butler finishes 3rd in rushing. He goes for just 28 yards Saturday, whereas Saskatchewan's A.J. Ouellette goes for 43. That was enough for the Riders tailback to nip Butler for 2nd place. Winnipeg will cross over to face Montreal in the East Division semifinal, with Hamilton awaiting the winner. So the Bombers are going to have to win 2 games out east if they're to play in a 6th straight Grey Cup game at home in Princess Auto Stadium next month. They sold out all 9 home games this year. The Bombers did, Blake. And then after Calgary next year, and I'm still stunned that McMahon Stadium got another Grey Cup. It is woefully inadequate for what the Grey Cup has now become. Calgary's a marvelous Grey Cup festival city because you have the Stampede grounds, which centralizes a lot of the activities, not to mention the great pedestrian mall street they have downtown in Calgary. It's an awesome city for the Grey Cup Festival. It is a terrible city for the Grey Cup game, especially because McMahon is way out there, too. It's not close to the downtown core, and just such a rickety, old, antiquated lack of
facilities. There's no McMahon plans, is there? That's not part of the arena. Right?
Blake, the last time the Grey Cup was in McMahon, Calgary, it was woefully inadequate. We had Mayor Nenshi on the Grey Cup broadcast at the time, who's now a provincial leader, and I said, you've got to do something with this damn stadium. I am stunned that the CFL decided to go back there. And today, the Canadian Football League announcing that Regina will host the 114th Grey Cup on November 7th, 2027.
Moving it up a bit.
This was a pet project of Randy Ambrosi, the former CFL commissioner. He felt that the whole CFL season should move up a bit so that there are fewer games that are played in the inclement weather, especially in the likes of Saskatchewan and Winnipeg, in late November. So the season is moving up that year, 2027 this is. May 27th will be when regular season games start. We haven't seen that before.
Wow.
Camps will open May 2nd. So, look, if you have no Canadian teams in the NHL Final 4 or Final 8, the CFL may make some headway there.
It's not a bad idea. I don't mind it at all. I know people love snow games, but we don't need a ton. We don't need a lot of snow games. You're still going to get snow games on this schedule. You won't.
Yeah.
Fewer regular season snow games.
It's easy for me to say because typically when I go to Grey Cups, it's in a press box. Now, I have been in the stands before, and I don't mind bundling up for a Grey Cup game or a West or East final. But it's easier for me to say than the fan who is sitting there through 3 or 4 weeks of inclement weather games. I get that.
On the CFL side of things with Alberta, though, with Calgary and Edmonton, that might be the biggest project for Stuart Johnson in the CFL right now in terms of the health of teams around the league. Because I think everybody else is in pretty good shape, or
Toronto.
Expected shape. I put that into a different category. They're in that.
That's the unsolvable one.
Right.
Amongst the solvable
Amongst the solvable, you can hit it out of the park, pardon the pun, with both Edmonton and Calgary with new stadiums. Can you imagine 30,000-seat stadiums in both of the place would be great.
Well, here's the thing, is Commonwealth is still adequate. It is old, but it is still adequate.
Just too big.
McMahon is just not adequate. anymore. And you're right, all that money in Calgary, and of course the Flames doing an arena project, and they have gotten some heat for not investing more. It is a city-owned with the university there stadium, and it needs all sorts of help. Yeah. And lastly, on Canadian football, congrats to Coach Blake Nill and the UBC Thunderbirds, who come back to beat Regina in overtime Saturday. Boy, men's soccer and football in OT,
Look
UBC. A final play, walk-off field goal for the Thunderbirds. They clinched the final playoff spot in Canada West. Did you see Guelph upset Western on a walk-off rouge this weekend?
Really?
Blake Stewart Johnson's worst nightmare. Thunderbirds will play at the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon Saturday in the 1-versus-4 matchup. Boy, there was some partying going on campus this weekend after these wins, to say the least. Look at this, second scene from a UBC team. NFL Week 8 featured lots of blowouts and dreadful games. The highlights included Green Bay winning over ex-quarterback Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets breaking the goose egg with
Jordan
a win
Love doing
at
God's
Cincinnati.
work there,
Yeah. No more winless teams now that the Jets are on the board, still 3 one-win teams. And San Francisco lost in Houston, meaning it's now Seattle and the LA Rams tied.
Both on
atop
buys.
the NFC at West at 5-2. 49ers were the only NFC West Division team to play this week. The rest had buys. Seattle at Washington on Sunday Night Football coming up in Week 9. The Commanders are in action tonight. So it's going to be a short week for them with the extra rest for the Seahawks, looking for another road win. They're 4-0 on the road already this season.
And they solved that Eastern thing. Remember we used to talk about how crappy they were out east, particularly in early games out east?
Yeah, the 10 a.m. start is the one that always got them. This one, of course, will be a 5 p.m. Sunday Night Football start for them.
For their circadian rhythms, this will be a normal start time for them. It'll be fine.
Game 3 of the World Series from Dodger Stadium tonight. Mad Max Scherzer versus Tyler Glasnow. Early E&O from us for thinking that Shane Bieber would get this game and Scherzer would be going in Game 4. All 3 World Series the Jays have been to have been tied 1-1. After 2 games, Bo Bichette is going to start at second base today after being out of the starting lineup in Game 2 and only seeing pinch hitting duty. Manager John Schneider said, as of now, every relief pitcher is available to pitch all 3 games in Los Angeles. Bullpen has pitched 7 of 18 innings through the first 2 games. Got mostly rested thanks to Kevin Gausman's outstanding outing in Game 2.
All for naught.
But he was not Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who was even better. The first complete game in the World Series in 10 years. He retired the final 20 batters. His teammates were there bowing down to him in the clubhouse.
And I thought it was because of the start, I was like, oh my God, they are going to get to the untouchable pitcher here. And he had, I think after 3 innings, he had 50 pitches thrown. I was like, this is perfect. It's all going according to plan. And then
he
that
needed
was
like 50 the rest of the way.
Yeah, he needed 50 the rest of the way. And that was the last blip.
Honestly,
his card.
as somebody who enjoys watching a baseball game with good pitching and good defense and a peppy game that moves along, I wasn't even mad on Saturday night sitting there watching that. I was just like, this guy's just untouchable today. You know, there are some times where you just have to sit there and say, too good. Yamamoto, too good, just like he was in his previous start in the NLCS. Blake, I think you almost have to go into this thinking you've got to get 3 of the games that aren't Game 6, because I don't think you're winning Game 6 with Yamamoto on the mound. I mean, we talked about it last week that the Jays needed to get a split, and you don't normally say that of the home team, but that's just how good Yamamoto and, of course, Blake Snell prior to Game 1 had been.
Now you need 2 of 3.
You
want 2 of 3 in LA for sure, right? Mm-hmm. You want to get this one and then aim for the split in the final 2.
Yeah. And Blake, you may have seen that gentleman sitting behind the plate in Game 2 at Rogers Center, dressed as Colonel Sanders from KFC and sitting right in front of
George St. Pierre.
George St. Pierre as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a story there. I present to you the curse of the Colonel.
Wow.
It is a Japanese urban legend that holds that the ghost of KFC founder Colonel Sanders placed a curse on the Hanshin Tigers baseball team. You see, the Tigers won the 1985 Central League pennant, and the fans got so excited they took a nearby statue of the Colonel and threw him in the Dotonbori River. The Tigers did not appear in another Japan series again until 2003. They would lose that one and two more before finally breaking the curse in 2023. Bambinos, Billy Goats, and the Colonel. These are the baseball curses you should be aware of.
I should know this, but is Yamamoto a former Tiger?
Well, herein lies the issue. Neither Yamamoto, Ohtani, nor Sasaki ever pitched for the Hanshin Tigers.
I love the research that went into this. It misses the mark, though, if you've just painted the broad brush of they're Japanese, so the curse will work. It's so close to being a great story, but just misses the mark, unlike his pitches.
The Colonel spent his final 15 years in Mississauga because he wanted to be on site making sure KFC Canada
I was Saturday
was
years old when I learned that, by the way. Yeah. Him and Don Cherry living in harmony in Mississauga.
Can you imagine the discussion between that guy and his family as he's getting decked out in the Colonel white suit to go to the ball game?
But he didn't do it on his own. He was put up to it, I think, wasn't he? I think he was hired.
And Blake, we have our first upside down Canada flag moment for those who remember Game 2 in Atlanta in 92 when the Marine Color Guard presented our flag, Maple Leaf down. Dodgers skipper Dave Roberts allowed that the team was delayed traveling back to L.A., said, man, the international stuff was a bear. Well, of course, if it was a international travel matter,
that's his government.
It would have to do with U.S. Customs since the team was entering the U.S. Turns out LAX was just understaffed. Roberts today clarified, saying he knew Canada was not trying to, quote, sabotage the Dodgers in the World Series. Because we're so foreign, Blake.
I don't know if it was intentional or not.
Yeah.
Well, we can tell you it wasn't because it was your people.
Yeah. Talk to Trump and U.S. Customs. He doesn't like you either. You're from California.
Yeah.
So there you have it, our first international incident of the series. I saw many Blue Jays tweeters last week taking delight in some of the American reporters who were in Canada or in Toronto for the first time ever or the first time in years.
Their discovery of the Caesar.
Yeah, exactly. The wonderment. Oh, my God, they have Chipotle here.
Yeah. Caesars are good. Better than a Bloody Mary.
At least Caesars is discovery.
Yes, but you should have had a Caesar by now. Come on.
Results of the Redwoods Golf Course poll questions. We had a couple on Friday because of the trade. Is Lucas Reichel the answer for the Canucks at center? Yes or no? They said
no.
They said no. Percentage
78.
89. NHL fan bracelet says no, but a very good stopgap. JT says they need more offense on the wing. He could provide that. Kenny, if only the Canucks knew they needed a center in the offseason and also knew that Hedl was a high injury risk.
Yeah, if only.
Yeah. And then, and needless to say, this was before the Quinn Hughes injury. Who are you more worried about, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, or neither? Winner there?
Elias Pettersson.
Yeah. Percentage?
56.
46. Hughes, 38. Neither 16. I have a feeling Hughes would have gotten more.
Yeah, would now
after
get
we
a few
found
more
out
now
about the injuries. Errors and omissions from last week. One to self-report. I mentioned that Seattle closer Andres Munoz, the club has an option on him for next year at $7 million. And I said, look, if you weren't a cost-conscious team, you would pick that up in a heartbeat, given how good a pitcher he is. Well, it goes beyond that. It gets even better for M's fans. They hold an $8 million team option on him the next year and $10 million the year after that. So they are absolutely going to exercise that option with 3 years of club control left. We'll see. Maybe Munoz wants to renegotiate. He's had a couple of great years. But I have to think he's back in that closing role for the Mariners next year, given what they would be paying him.
The only one in the inbox, Todd in Marpole. Please tell me it's Blake and Goalie calling the Whitecaps playoff games on Apple TV. Make the right call. No, we were omitted. Alas.
Yeah.
Maybe down the road. We'll see.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels. Costs you nothing. YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.